So the last video that I thought I would do today is I thought that I would cover the how. So I've mentioned why and the areas that I felt were unaddressed currently for women. So what I thought I'd do in this video is I would talk about how do we go about implementing these changes. The first thing that we do, the biggest thing that we do in terms of our how, is that we are specifically designed for women. I firmly do not believe that men and women should train the same unless they would like to look the same. That's just a personal opinion. We're very different. We're very differently, even the way we function is just so different. So just an example of that would be when I've written all our programming, I'm very mindful of the use of the forearms, like exceptionally mindful of it. If we've been created for women, which we obviously have been, there are so many women that are already weaker than men in this area. On top of that, we're typing all day. There's so many women getting tendonitis and forearm pain and things like that. Also, a lot of us are holding children all day, or young children, puts tremendous strain on the forearms, particularly if they've got colic or any kind of, condition like this where you'll find any condition, right? Any condition when they're little, where they need to be held and patted. But on a serious note, there is a lot of pressure on our forearms. You will find that I just never load up our forearms. I won't do it. I don't believe in it. I don't think it's sustainable. So that's just one example of how our programming is very specific to women, very, very specific to women from a functional side. From a visual health side, so visual health to me is looking in the mirror, or just in general, like liking what you see and liking who you are. That is what visual health is to me, and knowing that generally you're beautiful and that you generally adore yourself. So when we're coming to visual health though, in terms of the way that we're training, the way that I've written the programming, I firmly believe there's nothing at all wrong with feeling empowered and loving your body. And if you want to have, like a smaller waist, or you want to cater to your natural feminine shape, I don't think there's any shame in that. I don't think there should ever be any shame in that. And I think that there's a lot of misconception, and just in general, there's just so much information flying around within, I guess, the world. I know for me, I didn't really know like there was any difference until I started professional bodybuilding. And once I started professional bodybuilding, I can say for the last 8 years, I've never really looked back. It's been just common knowledge to me now on how I should and shouldn't train. I'm generally really comfortable with my body because there is a particular way that I won't train. So you'll never find me doing like heavy abdominals, for example. I just won't do it because I don't feel any physical or functional gain to it. So you'll find that our training is very specific to this, and that's something that I feel very, very firmly about. The main reason for that one, in terms of why, is that there has been periods where I've done other training, or there has been periods where I haven't done the research and I haven't had the knowledge to know, and I trained in a particular way, and I actually became really insecure with my body, like very, very insecure. I found that like my arms had gotten a lot bigger. They were like quite muscly, which is fine again, but it's not what I wanted. I found that my waist was getting much, much thicker. My legs were getting bigger. There was just like a whole range of things going on that I thought if I was training, I didn't really understand why they were happening. I kind of accepted it that it was normal and that it should be happening, but now I know better. And I know that in terms of the way that you train, it 1000%, it will affect the way that you visually are appearing. So that's another big one in terms of why I created what I do, and why I try to be informative about what we do, how and why. So I leave that at everybody's discretion as to whether they want that or don't want that. And either way, it's fine by us. Another thing that we do, so we do programs. We definitely do programs. So with our programs, what we do, we go for more of a moderation. I guess we're kind of aiming towards mastery, as you might call it. We want you to be the master of your mind, the master of your habits, the master of your skill set in these health areas. And how we do that is, instead of getting you to kind of join this challenge and go all out, go crazy, is I have gone for an approach of a few tweaks which are substantial, but you work on consolidating and mastering those over 4 weeks. And then once you've accomplished that, which is not too difficult because you're just changing a few things, is then you pass and then you move up a level. So we actually have levels to keep you continuously motivated, to keep you with an end goal in mind long term, but also more importantly, to create a permanent habit change that is sustainable. So that's something that's extremely important to me. We're not talking about necessarily like weight loss or muscle gain. We actually do programs on all the health areas, so even emotional and mental health. And I think that these are really important because there's different techniques, there's different strategies, there's different things, especially with emotional health, that you might uncover, that you might be working towards. And if you don't have a base level of education and a base level of awareness, or you don't have a base level, for instance, of control, self-control around particular types of food, you're going to find it exceptionally difficult. And then often you might have a slip up and then you quit, and then it's kind of like all or nothing. Like you feel like because you quit that you can't do it. It's like a really vicious cycle. So we've gone for baby steps. We've gone for smaller steps where you get a sense of achievement, you get a sense of accomplishment, and you know that you have actually mastered that change of habit, and then you move your way up, you propel your way up, which is also in line with what we believe in terms of for women, is that we want you to be educating yourselves, we want you to be striving to be the best version of yourself, however that looks. We don't know how that looks, only you will know how that looks, and we want to help you find that. The other thing that we do is we are very much a social club as well as a body and mindset training club. So when I say social club, we have weekly activities for our members. So every single week at the same time, every single week, always pre-organized. You know that on every Monday night, for example, it's the new members welcome night from 7 to 8 p.m. and that, other members can come along and network and meet other members. The first Saturday of every month that we have the doll room, which is like a really big, fun social event for all our dollhouse members. So we have things like this, including humanitarian and volunteer work, as well as weekend getaways. And we haven't just thrown them together. We haven't just decided that this month we're going to do this. No, it's very important to me that we had a proper social club, a proper environment for women to flourish, to support each other, and to really gain from a social aspect what it might be that they can incorporate into their life that will make their life more fulfilling. So we've thought long and hard about how to implement that, and we're very excited. And yeah, we're just very, very excited. And then the other thing, obviously, that we do with the 5 core health areas, which we felt was very, very important, is the emotional and the mental health. So these are something that I am unbelievably passionate about. I have a very, very strong and deep connection to these on a personal level. But I find that that's not just me. I find there are so many women, regardless of how happy or how wonderful or how well things are going, we are women, we do have hormones in terms of regulation and things like that. It is definitely an area that's not really spoken about. Obviously, it's getting a lot more awareness now. But I firmly feel that emotional health, and particularly emotional intelligence and just awareness, is something that can honestly change a woman's life. And I say that because firsthand, it's how I feel. So that's a little bit about how we conduct ourselves, I guess you might call it. It was a long video, but honestly, it was very brief in the scheme of how we do things. But I do hope that it's given a little bit more insight into what we do, why we do it, how we do it, who I am. And yeah, we'll do some more videos for you soon.